Welcome to No Room for Phonies.
Episode 151.
And we're calling this The Science of Joy, since we're talking about joy. And today we're continuing that subject, but not the quick hit feel good version that we're often sold and that I label as happiness.
We're looking at the science of joy, what's happening in the brain and the body, and why joy is actually deeper and more durable than happiness.
Because living well isn't about chasing more, but about meaning, connection, and resilience.
We'll talk about the chemistry, the psychology, and the lived experience, how joy grows through purpose, relationships, creativity, and even through challenge.
So if you're interested in what it really means to live well, this conversation is for you.
Welcome to episode 151, The Science of Joy.
The Science of Joy explores how brain chemistry, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins, neural networks, and psychological factors create feelings of happiness and fulfillment, revealing that joy isn't just pleasure, but also deep meaning, connection, and resilience built through purpose, gratitude, mindfulness, and even overcoming challenges, strengthening our immune systems and overall well-being.
So we'll look at the neurochemistry of joy. So dopamine is the first chemical released in the brain, and it is the brain's reward chemical. And it is released during enjoyable activities such as listening to music or playing music, games, good food, and it motivates us to repeat those activities.
And serotonin, it regulates mood, boosts positivity, and is increased actually by sunlight.
Nice. So that's why those of us in the Northern Hemisphere in winter need to get out in the sun as much as possible. Oxytocin, this is the bonding hormone, and it promotes trust and connection between humans.
And then endorphins are the natural mood elevators and pain relievers.
Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
So then there's the brain and body benefits to getting endorphins, getting sunlight, doing some of those things that...
Being connected, experiencing bonding, yeah.
So joy boosts immunity and lowers stress, stress is cortisol and blood pressure, and it actually helps cardiovascular recovery. And
joy helps cognition because it broadens the mind, it increases creativity, flexibility, and improves focus.
And then it also increases resilience because it helps reset the stress responses and builds capacity for deeper joy over time. So then there's all these different pathways to cultivating those endorphins and all those things in your system, right? So connection and purpose, deep joy comes from belonging, relationships, community, and finding meaning in everyday actions and not just big achievements.
Mindfulness and gratitude practices enables us to pay attention to our senses. Journaling and gratitude journaling or thoughts and practicing mindfulness also strengthens the circuits in our brain that joy rides on.
And then there's the active engagement, the dancing, the exercise, the helping others, the creating things. All those things set off those joy hormones, I guess, or synapses or whatever. And also they say that embracing discomfort, so processing challenges builds deeper life satisfaction, and then your joy capacity expands.
So we like to focus on one key distinction between joy versus happiness. Joy is often deeper and more enduring, and it is a state of being.
Well, happiness can just be as I say, happiness is an ice cream cone. It's a fleeting pleasure. Joy involves meaning, purpose, and being aligned with your values. So certain types of suffering increase our capacity for joy by helping us build meaning and resilience. So a study found that people who spend time on challenging activities that require full engagement report 31% higher life satisfaction than those who prioritize relaxation.
So as I hear that, I'm thinking of next year and maybe spending less time on my phone relaxing or or just chilling out watching TV, and instead find activities that are challenging.
Right. And being overly concerned about happiness actually reduces it. So their research showed that people who actively tracked and pursued happiness reported significantly lower well-being than those who focused on meaning rather than just the happiness itself. And the researcher called this the happiness trap. The more we chase it, the more it eludes us.
However, happiness is only temporary. It often involves something you've achieved, received, or bought. For example, I'm happy with my new sports watch. Well, it's not new. Or
some offer that was accepted, or some running shoes, something you've bought.
Right.
And I was very happy when I received them, but then that fades because your shoes wear out, your watches get scratched.
Right.
And in his book, The Second Mountain, David Brooks describes the 5 levels of joy. So, and these are his 5. These are the 5 levels of joy that he talks about. So he explains that happiness is personal. We often ask people if they are happy, but joy goes beyond the self. It's what happens to you, and it's not expected. Happiness fades, but joy is actually sustainable. So I can experience joy with my family, even if something is not going well. For example, when I find out the breakfast table has not been cleaned up again, but I can still
experience joy.
So he just talks about stories and experiences about joy. And based on this, he found the 5 levels of joy: physical joy, collective joy, emotional joy, and moral joy. So I thought that was really interesting. And I definitely don't think this is just for older people.
No, this is for everybody.
So
absolutely.
Brooks calls this collective, physical joy
first.
So
that's getting into the flow when you repeat certain actions. So any kind of rhythmic action. So for example, washing the car, mopping, running, painting, any type of physical task. Time flies by.
Sometimes I get like this when I'm reading even, but also sewing, walking, biking for sure for us.
So it's just the physical.
Baking, like all that is like you're in the flow of something. So collective joy is the collective effervescence or celebratory dance of joy in which happy moments are celebrated.
And this is when you're with other people celebrating.
So this is collective. You see, like during a pop concert or a wedding, or when people are dancing.
Yeah. Or cheering together or something like that.
That's physical joy.
Yeah.
And then he also talks about when you're in collective joy, often that cage of self-consciousness falls away and you just become absorbed in the moment because that joy just occurs and everybody else is doing it and all that sort of stuff.
He defines emotional joy is, for example, when you fall in love with someone. It is when you lose yourself in somebody else or in each other. It can also happen with couples who've been together for a long time. It has an intimate and powerful form of joy. He experiences it when he sees one of his cats sleeping on the grass in the sun, or when he's reading, or when he's eating something. Whenever time kind of stands still, that's when we can experience this emotional joy.
Yeah. And then spiritual joy is the joy that comes over you when you walk in nature or see a work of art. Because it's mystical joy, because it's something intangible, but it fills you. So he talks about seeing Wouter Leduc's God Machine, which it's
a photo.
It's a photo. And anyway, he just that feeling that he got, that sort of self-confidence that he felt. And so that's spiritual joy, that sort of overwhelming feeling of mystic.
Yeah. I think we've talked about before about forest bathing.
That sort of thing. Right. Yeah. And then he talks about moral joy, which is the last level of joy, and the joy of service. It's the joy you experience by being of service to others in your life. And so it can be done in all kinds of ways, like volunteering.
When you're volunteering or It's basically giving of yourself without expecting anything in return. Even small things like holding the door open for someone so that they can go in when you notice they're in a hurry. The random acts of kindness.
And he also talks about deep kindness, which I've read about, and that's the kind of kindness that goes beyond the sprinkling, like sprinkling joy, they call it. It's deeper than that. So anyway, you can just keep helping others makes our lives feel better. And, you talk about joy as a virtue. Most people conceptualize and study joy as an emotion, but it also is a virtue. And this is a professor at some university at Fuller Theological Seminary. And emotions tend to be feelings we assign meaning to that can come and go. Virtue is a habit that you cultivate. So you actually cultivate joy.
Right.
Definitions can vary, but joy has been described as an intense internal experience of positive emotion accessed in small moments, smiling, laughing, jumping for joy. Happiness is a more conscious appraisal of how good we feel over time, dependent on a range of external factors.
I think, and that comes back down to it's our internal judging whether or not we're happy.
Right.
So
right.
I think that's why the research, if you ask people, are you happy? They're more likely to be critical and judgmental rather than experiencing joy.
And then I like this idea that joy is actually best understood when it comes from a broader perspective of what it truly matters to us deep down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit deeper than just that surface kind of happiness. And it helps us to align who we are and who we're becoming, and aligns us to relationships that matter most to us and our values and our convictions. So joy is way beyond what makes us, happy in the moment. It's that deeper.
I think as we approach 2026, a lot of us are thinking about relationships and our values, and some people make New Year's resolutions. So I think it's probably a good time to reflect on the 4 or 5 types of joy in your life and how you can explore them. And
I think, when they talk about joy, it's easy to fill up your social calendar with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that, I'm so happy, I got all these things to do, and I'm here and I'm there and I'm so happy, which it's all surface.
Yeah. And you're never quiet in your mind.
But then you have to think about, like, who are the people that actually matter most in your life, and how do you make time for them? Mm-hmm. And how do you make time for just your own personal growth and reflection, which is actually the thing that stimulates joy and actually helps you find more moments of happiness within each day.
Absolutely.
So I think happiness comes from, like, true happiness or joy comes from that space within yourself where you feel satisfied and where you know what you want out of life and what's important to you. Mm-hmm. And I that's why I think this discussion behind the science of joy, where people are so busy doing all these things but they don't really feel joy, then it brings us back to the 5 kinds of joy, the kind of things that are happening in our brains.
Right, the physical joy, the moral joy, the spiritual joy.
But even the hormones and things that are happening in our brain, are those, kind of surface things actually building those hormones in our brain, or are they just fleeting things and they're not really getting to what we need to have that deep joy?
That deep joy.
So
that's our conversation on joy, not as something to chase, but something to cultivate. Thanks, Pam, for doing all the research on joy this month.
So joy as meaning, as connection, as alignment with who we are and what matters the most to us.
If this episode resonated with you, we'd love for you to stay connected with us.
You can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, follow along through Spotify, or listen directly at our blog at noroomforphonies.com with the number 4, not FOR.
Yeah. And if you know someone who's stuck in the happiness trap, always striving and rarely satisfied, this might be a good episode to share with them.
Thanks for spending this time with us and for being part of the No Room for Phonies community.
Until next time, keep paying attention to what brings real joy.
And keep making room for what really matters. We are going to move in January to talking about financial freedom and financial habits. So I thought that would be a good way to start
the new year.
So you might find some deep-seated joy in getting your financial habits in order so you can experience financial freedom. So join us January 15th at No Room for Phonies for talking about financial freedom. In the meantime, find some joy in what truly matters.
Happy New Year and good night.